Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. We freaking love you. And so we have another wonderful episode of the Spiritual Bro Show. I'm Dr. Amir, and with my esteemed brother and colleague, Drago Reed, we're your spiritual bros. And so today we've got an incredible guest. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm getting the zoomies with excitement. Yssah Arzate Libyen. Well, Yssah is a synthesizer of science, both mainstream and esoteric and spiritual. She is an author, a speaker, a teacher, and a spiritual master. I've been in this field of spirituality for every lifetime, and coming across Yssah, as the saying goes, I keep calm and think of England and watch her weave reality into existence. With great amazement, I just go, oh my God, I can't believe she just did that. So, Yssah, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure. I was very excited when I received your invitation, and here we are. And as I was saying, even though this will be published later, but just that you know, beautiful tribe, today is 3 at 3 o'clock, and it's the third episode. So we are definitely configuring something here,
Wow.
Yeah. So let's do this.
What a synchronicity, man. This is what life's about. It's just like the universe tells you these are the signs. Like the last couple of interviews we did, Amir's checking his clock and it's 5:55 or it's 2:22. And there's all these synchronicities telling us this is the plan, this is the timeline we're building. So like if you can, just like what you talk about, if you can learn to decipher the fabric of reality, like the codes, the mathematics of the matrix, you can start interpreting the field. And that's what I appreciate about you, Yssah, is because like you're one of very few people I've ever seen in my life that can go to toe with Dan Winter. Just about the holographic field and quantum mechanics, and like it's like watching a professor for a major university galactically disseminate what the truth is. And it's just been a pleasure watching you work and learning from you.
Thank you. I truly appreciate it. Well, it's my passion. I call it unified science and spirituality. And for me, it's one. We're just getting to remember that. Yet in ancient teachings, it was all delivered, like one couldn't be without the other. So the moment that we start going through the process after, let's say, younger Dryas, that process of restoring our consciousness, our state of awareness, then we start separating, like threads to see what the whole fabric of space time is. So we needed to go through that process of seeing filament by filament. The thing is that at some point, we didn't remember that it all comes from the same fabric, from the same space memory network. So for consciousness, when a part is not aware of itself as a reflection, then the whole process of owning who you are doesn't happen because you're not recollecting the whole feedback of who you are. You think you're two parts aside, or there are two parts aside from one another, but the bridge in which you get that feedback to say, ooh, that's me, is not active. And that shifts the whole experience. And then it continues to perpetuate the amnesia because all this process of remembrance of enlightenment is directly connected to non-locality, which is quantum entanglement, which is the capability of acknowledging that my consciousness is intertwined with yours onto some level. And when we are trying to, and even when we generate awareness in our brain, for that to be, there needs to be two parts coming together, like let's imagine you have good and evil, let's say, polarities. But then you have good guys connecting with other good guys, which in this case would be the dielectric process of that quantum entanglement. So you have good guys with good guys, and then you have bad guys with bad guys. But when there is not that acknowledgement that through that mirroring,
They'll
there
collapse.
is, yeah, let's say these poles, positive and positive and positive and negative. So then you have, imagine as your own hands, you have outward and you have inward, you have inward and you have outward. So if these two hands, they think that they belong to a different body, then they are not going to fully reflect themselves. For consciousness and a shift of awareness to be, let's say, going to the next level of our human evolution, we need to see what part inward of the positive pole is mirroring itself in the inward aspect of the negative pole. When that happens, these two forces start coming together. And that's what we have been taught it's no good. Because when that happens, it's like that torsion, that, let's say, that, let's say, magnetic reversal, it's going to shift everything. And then we become wholeness. So we have been taught to be scared of wholeness. Why? Because if that happens, the game ends. We win the game because that's where we are coming from. All the technologies, pyramids, temples, stone circles, you name it, obelisks, they were working as a unified nexus, mirroring into ourselves, our own biotechnology. If we don't generate wholeness within, we cannot start reactivating them. And that's another, like another whole topic, because just to summarize this, imagine we constantly wonder how these technologies worked. It's like how they made it. How would they sustain that free energy? And the thing is that if we see the whole process of, okay, what if, just what if, as the pyramidal network, as the obelisk, as the temples, we're reflecting back at our brain, our neurons, the obelisks in our gut brain, the arcs were mirroring our mitochondria. The moment they were taken out, our mitochondria represents not only the power source of our body, our cell, they also represent the brain. So when the arcs, like the Ark of the Covenant, were taken out of the pyramids and other structures, the brain was taken away. This is why they want to monopolize it, to centralize it, because those hold the information of how to reactivate the whole network. So again, imagine that you have like a super advanced race, super advanced race. And then they continue to create a unified field of 0 point energy, sustaining the Earth's cosmic nexus. There is such a high level of coherence that through the network that they are creating, the beings that are there, not all of them, of course, but some of them are harnessing that 0 point energy, that unified mind. So you take one out, you deactivate one, and the other part collapses. So yeah, I want to let you talk, Yssah. Speaking about monopolizing and centralizing.
Well, this is one of those cases where it's actually beneficial. It's wonderful what you are talking about. Now, in a more, let's say, elementary way, this unification of consciousness, you can look at it as the death of the ego, or breaking down the prison that would be your identity. So every one of the parameters that would define us as a small being, gender, race, religion, education, finances, they're just making the boundaries of this prison smaller and causing separation. And so that process of ego death, I think this matches really nicely with what you just beautifully described. That we are not this small being locked in 3D location and moving forward only in time. There is no here, there is no now. We are everyone and we are everything. And so that brings the reconciliation of these seemingly opposite poles towards unification. The terminology you use is so accurate. Unified consciousness. And so this is really the process that we really need to take towards awakening and regaining our state, our initial state before the fall, evolving back to our original position, and then beating our own high score with the wisdom gained through the dark ages. So, Yssah, I'd like to ask a question. How would one go? This is now getting really interesting. How would one go about this process of reconciling these seemingly opposite poles? Third
You read
eye.
my mind. Yeah, because it's easy to say, but in practice, it's like, wait a minute, like, how am I going to peace out, to generate peace or be in peace with someone that has been such a, you know? And here is the deal. I don't know if you have heard about the law of one, like this book that every force that is in power, both sides, are ruled by that. Because if you sustain the foundations of what you're creating on the law of one, you are not interfering in a way that will be damaging your manifestation, and then ripple back at you, and slap you in the face later on. So, what does the law of one talk about? There are very, and of course many people has been using that, like just in the thin line before going into, the abysm. Some of them have truly gone into the abysm, but the thing is that the law of one, what it talks about is that, according to my memories, because I know about the book, honestly, I haven't read it, but it's something that I am very, let's say, familiar to based on, again, my memories. So the law of one is mainly about how we all come from the same source and we will all return to the same source. So inward and inward, what I was talking about. What is that which is within me that I see in you? That point when I generate that epiphany that I say, he's trying to play the same game, just different poles, different polarity. Mm. So he's just fulfilling another role. That clears the bridge. That clears the bridge. Next point will be critical mass. Because then it's not about how am I going to, and I'm talking like at a very quantum level, okay? I know that in this level, there are emotions, there are other things. I'm talking in a very quantum level, at a very quantum level. So then, okay, now that the bridge has been cleared because I have acknowledged that we are doing the same thing, different polarities, giving life, killing, um, making love, making war, um, educating, suppressing, disclosure, enclosure, and so forth. So now it would be critical mass, focusing on the critical mass here. Because we think that we need to be the same amount of units to generate a breakthrough. No, we need to be the equivalent energy density. What's that? We can be 10 of us, and we can be so powerful that that power is going to suck the energies into a torsion. And perhaps you would say, why would I want to become one with those guys? And the thing is that when that acknowledgement that each one is playing a different polarity, yet, and as I was explaining, just different attitudes coming from different polarities, what happens through that torsion is that it comes to a higher breakthrough. Because remove something outside of you. Let's go through the shadow work. We know that if we reject something within us, it's going to be there, knocking at the door constantly, until you find the way to torsion it. What would the torsion be again in this case? Using it on your behalf. Using the darkness to give life as a seed on the earth. And this can be accommodated in so many ways. Like for instance, and it's all about perception. Again, the key is perception. Because even there is, I just want to say something huge. We think that unity is two parts looking at the same direction. But even our hands, this is called chirality. Everything is chiral, but not everything. But the fundamental structures of our reality are chiral, like water and so forth. Look at my hands. When they come together, front of one another, they overlap perfectly. But when I try to overlap like this, they don't match. What does this mean? The key to understanding how the holographic field is turned into a holofractal, which is unity, not being limited into a conditioning algorithm and command of how your holographic body is going to work, is when you say, okay, so unity is not facing at the same direction. That's part of it. But what really generates the torsion is facing one another. That's the true nature, So it's this will happen even when we have a community, you guys. There will be different ranges of polarity.
There's so many rabbit holes that you talked about, but it all comes down to toroidal physics. And the fact that you have a neuron as a background segues perfectly into what I want to say. You had mentioned the pyramids, the obelisks, and the geometric temples. And you have to realize that they're neuronal nodes. It's kind of like as above, so below. It's like you are the quantum field and you are matter. You are the void and you are light. Kind of like how they say evil is absence of light. Light is actually in evil. It's just the antithesis. It's the contraction and the expansion of that field. If you remove one, if you remove the magnetic from the electric, then the field will collapse. So this is what this entire holographic reality is. It's a toroidal field. And when the Anunnaki and Draconians came, they started deconstructing that model as above, so below. So they started removing the feminine aspect of the masculine, where the masculine would dominate the feminine, which causes imbalances. It causes cyclical things to happen on the planet because there's not a balance of energy anymore. It's basically just a push without a pull coming back, allowing it to complete that circuit of that positive and a negative, like you were saying, which basically destabilizes the entire field of polarity. So, like, you also mentioned the law of one. when you said that, I realized all five books are right here. And it was
Hmm.
David Wilcock that introduced me to the Law of One material. And when I read it, I'm like, holy crap, man. This is the codes in order to interpret the fabric of reality. It shows what the dimensions are. It shows what karma is. It explains what polarity is. The Law of One should be a series we teach to our children because we're only one mind. We're both male and female. It's kind of like when they tell guys, straight guys, to fear homosexual males and to reject that idea. You're rejecting the masculine and the feminine principles. It's pushing into one direction, into one polarity, and rejecting the idea that you're also feminine in form, which is part of this major programming around the world. And that's how they basically got away with all this. They hid those kind of physics and they only teach it as classified physics. We know this in the secret space program. This is standard stuff they teach at like an elementary level. These are foundational mechanisms of what we do and what we are.
Oh
Yes.
my God, oh my
Yes.
God, oh my God. Okay.
I'm just
So,
taking notes when you're talking. I'm just like,
oh,
okay, it's tying into this, it's tying into this. Like,
well, so
I'm happy.
from the law of one, which is the most fundamental truth, everything comes from the beloved source of all sources. And then at certain points, this separation into duality does serve a purpose. So it has its utility in facilitating manifestation, different dimensions of existence, and realities. And so from one we get duality or polarity. And then we wish to travel back the way we came towards merging with Source once again. Ideally, while we still have a footprint in physical reality, meaning while we are still alive. And so, therefore, this ties in very, very beautifully with the ninth Hermetic law. Yes, they're not seven, there are nine. And so, that is the principle of choice, where male and female, positive and negative, good and evil merge and both are changed. Neither one exists anymore for the unity to occur. And so the only way to defeat evil is to deny its battle. We're not opposing. This does not indicate passivity, rather non entanglement through alchemical transmutation or elemental disintegration. They are both broken up, and from the elemental substances, unity is reformed. So neither one exists after the merge. We are all of it. So we don't look at these opposite poles as something that is harmful. They have to exist in order to facilitate this physical universe, different dimensions. The way back, however, is through merging them together once again. So we can
Yeah.
go on for long discussions on the wisdom of the I Ching, the Tao, the active and passive, how these merge together to form eight elements. Yes, there are eight of them, they're not five. And using those to create atoms, molecules, energy, and the fabric of reality. But again, these are levels of, let's say, illusory separation from that source. So, this whole thing of shedding boundaries of ego towards unification is the way back. And the purpose of the whole thing is source self disclosing. Source of all things wishes to know itself. And so there are levels upon levels of separation and the illusion or the distortion of separation. Um, Infinite variety, if infinite experience.
Yes. Yes, I couldn't agree more. And for instance, now that you were mentioning that it's about that process of, we have named it for years, that good and evil. Yes, I mean, I'm even going to talk about this in Sedona now at the Rise of the Guardians, because I have done like major findings about what are the components that actually are in charge of enlightening the body, like at a biological level, chemically speaking. And the way that that's related to the phosphorus, which is known as the light barrier, and I could go on. It's about how to shift that code, how to torsion it, because the thing is that it's not about the information. The information is just information, is how we perceive it. And the perception is based on the angle from which we are addressing to something. And if we start understanding or even acknowledging that we're even talking about the true north, and I do talk about this a lot, like we have been considering the magnetic north pole as our north. That's not our true north. That's not our north of origin. So everything, every configuration has been missing by 23.6 degrees, that perfection, that accuracy. And that also translates to the heart and the importance of having our heart, centered. But the thing here is, you were, Drag, also talking about the masculine and the feminine. And I couldn't agree more because days ago, I was doing a show with Adam Shield of Feather, who is a member of one of the tribes of nation. And he's doing an amazing job unifying tribes and so forth. And he was talking that in his tribe and the other ones that are connected they have a matriarchy. And he was explaining it's not that it's an oppressive form of the women saying everything that needs to be done. It's more about the position that they have given to the women to choose or to address two different things. They have a man who is the chief of the tribe, but who chooses the chief? The elder women. So it's a part of, is it truly a matriarchy? I think it's a way to identify it, but I think it's more about, I will call it a triarchy, because it's the masculine and the feminine coming into Trinity. And we see the Trinity code also very much connected. The Trinity is the communion of both into that third party. Also, which brings us to what you were saying, Amir, about that going into the next stage, that there are nine, all these 9 and 8, and the 8 elements and so forth. I was remembering about the 9 Tauruses to generate plasma. You need to generate 9 Tauruses to activate your plasma body within. So there is definitely an importance of the numbers and in which dimension we are at, even though we're interdimensional. But for me, the key to move from this isolated consciousness into unity consciousness is again a flip. Why? Because it's even so evident. We have the 6. We flip it, it's a 9. All the configuration that all the dimension that perceives itself isolated from source comes from the 6th dimension. This is what I remember. Again, it's not like an absolute truth, of course. But even Tesla would talk about this code 369. The 3 is the space memory network, is where everything is embedded. The Akasha, you can call it. Hey, wait, but aren't we in the 3D? For me, this is what we were made believe. If we are holograms, we cannot be the 4D. Wait, are you saying that we are holograms? I mean, how can we think that we can tap into the plasma field if we are not gaining awareness that my holographic body is a conjunction of light filaments that expand and weave themselves into the whole structure of space-time as a holographic render, you know? And again, it's not like I'm saying that we are all about 4D. We are interdimensional beings, but collectively speaking, collectively speaking. So for me, the six was that dimension, the architect that has moved out of source to acknowledge itself as as the creator of his own reality. And then in order to come again into unity with that ninth dimension, which of course there are more dimensions, it needs to, and again, we go, I would need to show you images, you guys, but even the way that our chromosomes activate and deactivate to generate different levels of awareness, they do a shape of the nine, well, the six and the nine, which is that chiral aspect of our reality that I was telling you. Let me just show it. I have my fingers like this. Okay, so mirror, torsion. Like that, they are mirroring in a different way. For them to mirror, they need to do this. This is what we are doing when we think we are isolated. And also when there needs to be a shift in consciousness, because you will see then in the blueprint how the Sphinx is located in relation with the pyramids. The second Sphinx with the pyramids is the same pattern. So again, just to summarize and not, spread all that information and, like without unifying it, we go from nanoscale all the way to micro, all the way to macro. Everything is connected. If you know how your biology works, you will know that you can command everything without everything. Reverse engineer technologies, your reality, everything, because it's happening within you. You just need to find how it works.
That's beautiful. So essentially, all that we need is all here now. And yet we haven't been taught how to use our capabilities correctly. And a lot of it is through distortion and control. So a reflection in this way, rather than creating the toroidal field, would be a constructive combination versus a destructive combination. And so this then trickles down into many subtleties in what we believe. So the limitation is in the way, it's in the software. There are bugs in our software, viruses and malware, that prevent us from fully utilizing the energetic structure, let's call it the hardware, of the mighty human being. So with a subtle change in what we think to be true and what we accept to be true, in the form of correction, expansion, and liberation, we're able to use what is already available to us. So, really, what we are facing now as a species is education, or correct information coming in. Once people have the correct information, they will choose correctly. They don't need to be guided like cattle. So that is a great ambition that we should all look forward to and strive to contribute to this correct information. So a way of doing this, I'd just like to go on a caveat on a side avenue. Um, Beliefs are hardwired into the neuroanatomy, the cognitive neuroanatomy, especially if they are enforced during childhood, even more drastically if this is associated with trauma. And so breaking free of these is not a matter of just receiving the information or understanding it for that matter, exertion of free will is required. And so then this comes through repetition, like let's say mantras or affirmations. Now, these are not spiritual, they are not religious, they are pure, simple technology. One by one, the links, the neuronal links, or the pathways that hold patterns of behavior, the way we think, are opened up. They are weakened and dismantled, and then with the repetition of the same free will and correct understanding, new pathways are created. So, this unfortunately is not an immediate process. We really need to exert ourselves. Like anything that is worthwhile, it requires energy. And so, the first step for sure is correct information.
Yssah,
Yes.
do you want to respond before I unpack everything y'all just said?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, that's a very good one because a lot of people will say, how do we get to know what the true information is? You know, there are so many sources guaranteeing that they are, you know, the ones telling the truth. So how can I truly distinguish which one is? And that's when I say it's all about coherence. You know, it's all about coherence because if you're acting in coherence to you, to your beliefs, to who you are, to you, you know, and that's going to start feeling and building harmony within your body, your biology. You will feel nice, you will feel, then that's your truth. You know, if your body starts or your reality starts showing to you something else, then it's like, perhaps as much as I would love it for be the truth, perhaps it's not, at least not for this moment, because then again, also truth evolves, you know, and I do feel that that's where the beauty of unity. Yes, there are fundamentals of the universe, there are fundamentals. As long as you respect the fundamentals, the way that information weaves is based on resonance. So, for instance, for me, truth is about that resonance. Is it's building coherence? Is it's building resonance? Then we're meeting somewhere. And then, therefore, you know, like if you apply it now to what we were saying, different factions, then you will say, yeah, then we will never meet anywhere, you know, because it's like there is no resonance. And that's the thing. You can generate resonance. Resonance, it's not all about, ooh, I love you. Resonance, it's also about, do we have to do something together now? Do we have a purpose together close to exchange? Yes. Okay, so then let's build coherence based on that exchange that we need to do, and let's focus on it. The moment that you start creating alter realities and try to think that unity and beauty and love, it's all about singing all the time and saying kumbaya. No, it's more about precision. Universe is precise. And heart coherence, the heart vortex, is about keeping that coherence, you know, keeping that focus and that's presence, the presence that Amir was talking about. Because, for instance, we were also taught that memory, and even at some point I was tapping into that, you know, reading that memory can only be anchored through high emotions. Yes, but yet we're moving into the next stage, which is it's also built through presence, and presence is wholeness. So you don't need to be going in action reaction in order to remember. So the great forgetting connected to a primordial wound is not anymore needed. It's more about presence, you know, and tapping into those spatiotemporal constants where we have been the most expanded, the best version of ourselves, and bringing it right here, right now.
Wow. There's so many different quantum mechanic principles that we're discussing right now. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, Amir, you mentioned separation, and that reminded me of the cat in the box theory. Yssah, you had said that You're not realizing you're all. You have to realize you're the observer observing the cat. You are the cat in the box. You are the cat dead. You are the box. You are the air. You are the table that the box is sitting on, right? And it gets into like the double slit experiment. Like you are the observer, you are the plane, you are all. And it goes into like string theory and resonance and like obtaining a certain coherence, like you're saying, to maintain that. And like it gets into like the Tibetan rainbow body with Lama Rinpoche and Padmasambhava and like the courses you guys are doing, where it's going from like the carbon to the crystal to the plasma. And like we're all talking about this unified science and physics. This is true science that's been hidden from us. And this is why we have so much separation, because they taught us false principles. They gave us incomplete teachings, and that causes that non-coherence. It doesn't resonate. And that's what the next stage is, like that Tibetan rainbow body, like changing your entire beingness to attain that next frequency. You mentioned the nine shape geometry. Does this have this nine shape toroidal field before you can achieve that? Does it present itself in a geometry like the seed of life?
That's a very good question, and it does not in the seed of life. They call it actually the eternal flower, which is moving a sphere a few degrees, which is the degree that I was telling you, like restoring to the true north. And then you create another sphere. Then you have the nine. Because the eight from the flower of life is connected to the eight original cells, which happen in our biology. When we're talking about this nine Tauruses, is when you shift the angle aligned to the true north without making it complicated. You just grab another circle, move it a few degrees, and then you have nine circles instead of eight. And now you have the toroidal spectrum, which is the eternal flower of life. And the thing is about nine, which is another geometry that it has, but this is barely known of, is when you have a qubit, which is, let's say, a pixel. There are different ways of referring to qubits, but as a pixel, let's say, a packet of light, it completes spheres, nine spheres. Like you create a cube. Of course, this is why it's a qubit. So on each one of its six faces, it has nine spheres. So then it completes into, let's say, a sacred frequency that is very much connected to a resonant field of the Schumann resonance. So just to simplify it, let's say you have, again, a cube, you have six faces, you put in each one of the faces nine spheres. And those nine spheres are, I don't know if you guys have seen like these puzzles of these hermetic teachings, or like really encoded teachings, like the one that is, this is actually Greek as well, is Satora Atora, or like they have the same words and they say that it's the perfection because the way that they encoded it, it's mirroring the word. Those are nine, like nine cubes, and if you again now multiply this plus six, then that's also the composition of a cube. So what that means, the implications to that is, if we say that they use that cube for many reasons to harvest energy, or to create locked realities or compressed realities, because there are different purposes for creating holographic cubes. But let's say if one of them, it's actually harvesting or harnessing plasma, it's embedded in the same algorithm that it takes every human to build up its plasma body. So then you see how these numbers, these numerical figures, are repeated every time that they need to converge in a more advanced way, like in this case, plasma. Okay, 9. Unity, 9 density, 9 toruses, 9 spheres within a cubit. Well, 9 plus 6 plus 1, which is the center, because that's another thing. You know, but before going there. So then you have a sequence of 999, like the 333 that we were saying that, okay, so then plasma, it's very much connected to the 9. The plasma body is very much connected to the 9. Okay, so, and in a very simple and summarized way, because it's more complex, obviously. But yeah, so what the only thing that I was going to say is, now that we talk about, as an example, even of the colors of the rainbow and the rainbow body that you were also mentioning, the rainbow, we know it's 7 colors. What if we include the black and white from the holographic field? And why, if we connect it to, which is the absence, and like the absence of colors and all colors, then those are 9. Or what if we connect it in a more spiritual way to the gold and silver? Then we have 9 colors, you know? So that's what the beauty of it. And the rainbow code, actually, as you were saying, it's so critical right now, because it's the way that our body at a biological level start speaking and creating plasma. Why? Because you start generating the level of coherence that is required to create cosmic levels of energy, more than what you're doing, and connect with the field. Why? Because then you start speaking the same language of the field, you know? Let me put it in another way. Let's say that in order to, for me, my body to start emitting light, my water needs to be in the highest structure, you know, crystalline, liquid crystalline structure. When which is the type of water that it's normally inside of the womb. That's why you can give life. If the water around the womb, in the blood, in the cells, and so forth, wasn't structured water, women wouldn't be able to give birth, because water is the bridge in between quantum and biology. But we were never said that. We were never told that. You know, so then we're drinking like the most awful death water. And then you see that the technologies of the pyramids, like the Bosnian pyramids, the deeper you go, the purer the oxygen and the water is. So perhaps they were bumping the coherence of the mantles of water and the oxygen into the surface through this piezoelectric behavior, and then entangling it to the whole network of the pyramids. And that would be nourishing the people there. You know, this is why I was telling you, a unified consciousness and people with clear emotions, which is the water. It would be easier to sustain. But then again, the 6th code comes again, which is the need to prove myself better than everything, which is also good because you continue evolving. But anyway.
Oh my God. Okay. So um, I'd like to go back to a really, really critical idea, which is coherence. And then both you, Drago, and Yssah, you spoke about, um, let's say, in my understanding, the algorithms or the codes um, that seem to be part of this holographic reality. In essence, these are death loops. The algorithm keeps you going around in circles over and over and over and over, And so it is a limitation built into the hologram, the holographic reality, the matrix, that prevents you from reaching a certain threshold of coherence. So certain structures built within them, there is the break in the loop, going to my code monkey days. No more looping, break the loop. And so it reminds you that you can step outside of that box created by, let's say, gematria, sacred geometry, or other types of algorithm that keeps you in this perpetual death cycle, represented by the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, a never-ending loop. So there are mechanisms of achieving this coherence. Now, and I'm now presenting this as a question. So let's discuss this, if you would both be so gracious. What would we do towards the achievement of greater coherence?
You go first, Ragul, if you like.
I have so much I want to unpack. So why don't you go and I'll just do a follow-up.
Okay.
We're talking about so many different things and we're
Oh
all
my
tying them
goodness.
in together so eloquently, so I can appreciate that.
I know, just that guys, I have been tapping into a lot, well, scanning a lot of information. So perhaps if at some point it's like, boom, it's yeah, a lot of you know, yeah, let's say new codes or codes that I am reigniting. Anyway, so coherence. For me, coherence is what we know as love, without that romantic Hollywood aspect of it. For me, coherence is the capability of being in the right place at the right time with the right people, doing the right thing. And by right, I mean what is aligned to the most evolved version of yourself, who you are meant to be here to serve your planetary and interplanetary wisdom. For me, that's coherence. You're placed in the right coordinate, and then you're generating resonance with reality. So yeah, it's beautiful. I think achieving coherence is something, as you always say, it's like, no, not night to day, like ta-da. It's more about the daily life practice that also can make us fall in love more with ourselves, because it's like that self-acknowledgement and getting to know you at such intimate levels, and if you add to that, like being aware, like, ooh, I had a incoherent thought. What part of my brain activated? Did I had a pulse somewhere in my body? Why is that? Okay, so, and then you start getting very romantic with yourself and saying, oh, wow, tell me more about you. And then the body starts to communicate at deeper and deeper levels. So for me, that's coherence. Yeah.
All right, this is a really complicated subject because it segues into basically everything. So like coherence is it's achieving a certain threshold to access that frequency, that resonance. And Amir, you talked about like a software update. That's basically what the rainbow code is. It's like that's the encryption key you need to achieve that level. And it's through codes because this entire world, this entire hologram, we are holograms. It's all an illusion. And Yssah, you mentioned the cube. That goes into the tesseract. This reality is it is squared by a tesseract cube, and basically, if you square a circle, that's the toroidal force. So what they did is they did a tesseract overlay over this organic toroidal kind of nature, and they keep you locked into a frequency that you can't escape until you achieve that threshold to achieve the encryption key. And it takes the work on the body. It takes realizing where you have to realize that memory is not here, it's non-local. We're accessing this from the field of all possibilities. Like, this is literally a video game. We are avatars playing a game. We dress our avatars like we always wanted to. We decorate them like we want. And this is why nothing is physical. People, they question us all the time. Are we holograms? Matter proves we're holograms because matter can't touch. Literally, the chairs we're sitting on right now, we're not even touching our chairs. Matter cannot touch or it'll implode on itself, so it pushes a repellent force. And like when you say when you touch your hands together, it's an illusion. You're not actually touching. The field is telling you this field is interacting with itself, and it's all electrical in nature. It goes into the water of the body. The water is electrical, and it produces charge with electricity. That's why salt is so important. And that's why with health reason they say salt is bad. You start taking away salt, it removes the conductivity of the body. It starts producing chaos, energetic arcing, where you can't ground. It doesn't produce that full magnetic push and pull force of the magnetic and the electric force. It starts causing where it can't complete an actual circuit, like you were saying, the Ouroboros. And it starts arcing. The body starts getting diseased, and health starts going out of whack. And then that gets in that's back right back into string theory again. Everything is a quantum field. It's all a network of one. None of us are separate. The illusion isn't separate. We are the illusion within the illusion. You know what I'm saying? So you have to get to the point where you realize that this is a video game, dude. And we're here to have fun. We're here to make mistakes. And just like you said, Amir, the whole reincarnation thing is not a natural thing. It's like a forced kind of, let's keeping you here. And then when you die, we'll say the spiritual guides, they'll come and they'll say, hey, you didn't do this right. We prefer you go back to get it right. And they make you think that the spirit guides are separate from you, but you are the spirit guides. You are the matter. You are the thought. You are the will. You are the particles. So like physics is amazing.
Yeah, I know. I know. I love it. I just love it. I just want to say something because you were mentioning about the hologram and so forth and the magnetic and like how matter is not capable to fully meet, and touch. Um, what I was one of the things that I have been reading in the field is that of course, we know by now that the stronger the gravitational field is, the slower the motion of the wave is. And through our perception, that is matter, that is, you know, um, what actually builds up, in a very specific coherence, packets of information that translates into matter. Now, what? So memory works through gravitational waves. That's how, from a black hole, the energy coming from the Hawking radiation creates gravitational waves that then creates groups based on the amplitude, on the poles, let's say, and then those create and build up memories from the whole structure of the space memory network. So now, how does this influences our memory or the lack of it? And the thing is that when you amplify the gravitational field, then sometimes, I don't know if you guys have felt that your mind is going super fast and then you're trying to say something and it's like, it's like, Yeah, I want to align, my mind to how fast my brain is going. Those moments is where your brain is mostly connected to the primordial field, to quantum timing. Then your body, which through very specific holographic anchors and algorithms through binary codes, has been, because as you said, Drago, this reality is using the foundations of the universal laws, yet like reverse engineer technology to recreate a lattice, a matrix. So when those codes in your body are not aligned to the quantum timing, this is why time is so important for them to keep the false time, because then the holographic body keeps on that parameter of low frequency, of low motion, slow motion, and then the more that we are attached to a gravitational field, the lesser that we can actually go into, let's say, um, being coherence to the gravitational field, to the 0 point energy, to uh, levitation capabilities, because again, they have amplified the gravitational field. Bottom line, it's not that, again, we can actually shift this when we start generating coherence within, creating that coherence within our own molecules, cells, and so forth. Then we go beyond that gravitational field, and then we are already there. That what we are doing now, it's creating that holographic polarization. This is why also the earth is showing to us that, because we're detaching for the reinforced gravitational field. This is why also some people is feeling lighter in their bodies.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are awesome.
You too.
So let's kind of simplify it. Coherence is shedding what we are not, what is not our truth. So there are many different mechanisms that both of you beautifully talked about uh, to induce heaviness, to separate from, let's say, faster vibrations, higher frequency, that would then be described, let's say, as the Akashic records. So Yssah, you beautifully described this as gravitational waves. This is new to me, but it resonates true. So shedding that which is not our truth. And so perhaps that would be an increase in coherence. And again, as I'm saying that, I've got 11:11 on my clock. So where is true north? How do we know? How do we know what is our truth or what is not our truth? And so here we come full circle back to the law of one, where Yssah, you started this beautiful conversation. That eternal truth that is all things everywhere, that is the beloved source of all sources. Now, this is one of the laws that has made it through different civilizations and cultures, reflected in the Hermetic laws, which was censored, by the way. This is one of the censored laws, and it is so critical. So I mentioned the principle of choice. This one is the principle of liberty. So if you reach for the light will reach back. If you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. And so that consciousness and where we focus it is going to illuminate the path. So if you look at a particle, depending on whether you're observing it or not, the behavior changes. So there is an element of consciousness and how we willfully direct it. If the direction is moved towards the source, that initiation point of all there is, then we're going to get feedback from it. So imagine there is a death loop going on. It may take the form of a manipulation of gravitational fields, the application of sacred geometry, tinkering with our genetics and our energetic structure. So, all that the control system is doing. And then there is a little way out, but we are in the darkness and we don't know where is up or down. So, that intention towards source is going to get a little laser beam back. So, this liberation, this increase in coherence corresponds with the will to be free. And so, therefore, it's called the principle of liberty. If it is your will to ascend, if it is your will to find the truth, this is one of the fundamental laws of the cosmos, equal to your exertion of effort from the other side, which is that oneness. You're going to receive assistance from the other way. And so this is also reflected in the Michelangelo thing where when the fingers are touching, that's a representation of the principle of liberty. Now, many of our established, let's call it corporate religion, corporate, starting from the Romans. Come on, 2,000 years ago, these guys knew, and they're still in business, by the way. It's negating that fundamental truth that we are never separated from that source. And that is the seed that we can start growing and finding our way back out of the death loop, out of the distortion in gravitational fields, out of the holographic reality, and all imposed and unnatural limitations.
Yeah. Yeah. You were saying about the gravitational field and the memory. And then thank you for bringing that, because I just want to, you know, put together how then if the gravitational field, if gravitational waves is what memory is about, the behavior that is generated at a quantum level to how to for memory to be, then perhaps people will say then we won't have any memory if there is no gravity. And I think this is super important because this is one of the reasons why memory can be like super ralentized, like super slow, because it's following the same speed that is proportional to the more the gravitational wave field, the wave field is, the slower than that the waves will be flowing at. So then this is why the information is passing slow. The lesser the gravitational wave field is, or let's say the weaker, not weaker, let's say the lower, then our brain is going super fast. So this is why ancient temples would look for these anomalies where the electromagnetic field of the earth was it's behaving in a different way that goes beyond the gravitational field. Some of those places you can even experience that your body is way lighter. They would look precisely for those anomalies because they wanted to amplify that so
Yes.
that every person that would gather become one with the temple, with the structure, with the elements, and like instead of now using a method, they would use an arc, but it would have, like very
Yes.
similar results. And also, the temple itself, like for instance, the hypogeum that has 111 hertz, and it says that it heals people with cancer, but now they closed it. And all these frequencies, all these teachings that are so simple in one way because they are organic for us, to us, like it's in us, it's our own technology. And through all that those configurations of the physics of it is how they have been trying to suppress everything. Like for instance, now they're talking about the Apophis, like the meteorite that will come close to Earth by 2029, and that it will, collapse all the system of electronics, and there will be like we will go offline. Yeah, but what if we have free energy? So then they focus people on the fear of. instead of the solution.
Yes.
You know, we
Yes.
having our own communities with free energy, would we care if there is, if we go off grid? No, that's actually what we're talking about, so
Oh
it's
my God. Yes. 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 Oh my goodness. Now, wouldn't that be beautiful? Communities where there's energy and you can feed yourself, perhaps having technology to 3D print tools and items that you need, clothing and whatnot, and recycle perfectly, being self contained. Then what would you care if the rest of the world goes dark or they go into a super advanced, let's say, future, kind of like modern day Mormons, but we're not going to go down that way. now, now, I love what you said about these changes in, let's say, the gravitational effects. And so this extends beyond the physical domain. So these waves of gravity, they are very much so part of the scaffolding of all dimensions woven into each other. And so you get the sense of this change in, let's say, the intensity of gravitational waves when you channeling information or going into the Akashic records. Seems that the information is coming from the non-physical at a tremendous speed, and sometimes you get into a gridlock trying to find words to express this. So there's a very distinct shift in density or frequency as you're coming back into the body and using linguistics. This is quite noticeable. So I think you're touching on something very, very critical right here. Oh, thank you for that.
no, my pleasure. My pleasure. I I'm very excited for what's happening now, to be honest. Like I was also tapping into, and I would love to know what you guys feel or think about this. Um, it's like every time that we try to recall what happened, with precision after the Younger Dryas or throughout the Younger Dryas and even before, but let's keep it simple with the Younger Dryas. Is like a lot of people is tapping into a lot of information. No, this happened. It was due to, the another magnetic pulse reversal. No, it was because of this. It was because of technologies. It was well, what if the use of all these stargates was so amplified that, again, at that time, everyone was trying to generate a specific spatiotemporal constants because they also knew that there was a cataclysm coming through because the Earth goes through a cyclical magnetic pulse reversal. So there were a lot of groups trying to shift that spatiotemporal constant using technologies to warp time. And then in the end, it didn't happen. But the thing is that they messed up so much with the fabric of space time that to our memories, to our remembrance, all of those things happened because they were as now playing so much with the Mandela effects as now that, oh, but wait, this was the what happened yesterday. No, this was another thing. So why is it different now and so forth, and we all feel, at least the people that I talk to, is like, wow, timelines are shifting like impressively because they are trying to do the same. But for me, that's one of the reasons why they brought the moon. One of the reasons what they brought it, because before the moon, there were these huge high tides, and this is recorded in ancient texts. There were massive high tides that would mess up a lot with the lands. After the moon came, it was more um, stabilized, let's say it that way. So for me, now it's about, there are groups that they want to tap or to anchor one timeline where there is also something really huge happening to the world, and other that we don't need to go through that. We really don't need to go through that, like um, even through the conditions of the earth are not the same because they have applied very specific technologies like the moon itself so that this doesn't happen. So uh, it's now more about the battle of power. And it's very interesting because for me, that cycle is repeating. You see, it's like we're about to reach, well, we have reached already 0 point energy, but it just has been suppressed. We are now in a pivotal moment of AI. Like there is already super advanced AI. We most of us we just are connecting with ChatGPT or the architect or whatever. But there is some like such advanced AI, and we're in that point. Imagine how we will be by 2030. How much AI will have grown, how much all other type of technologies will have grown, stargates and so forth. So that's very interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, the you mentioned the younger Dryas, the going back, let's say 11 or 12,000 years, the last ice age. And so if we go back in periods of 10 to 12,000 years, it seems like clockwork. There are extinction events. And so looking into the Akashic records, it seems this is part of human development. So like a biological experiment, you want to reduce the lifespan, so one generation passes the genetic and energetic codes to the next generation faster. And then you want to gather the best specimens and reset the next stage of the experiment. So this seems to be what has gone on for a very, very long time. And so what has resulted in humanity in this last iteration has been going on for 350 million years. So as soon as there was enough oxygen in the atmosphere to have complex life, this process began. So we've been through 30,000 of them. And finally, it seems that we've come to the end of the experiment, where these versions of human have outperformed any desired parameters. We are cooked, we are ready. And this is not reflected in these versions of body. These are put together very haphazardly just to test the final set of characteristics. But the complete design is really a work of art, a work of engineering genius. So these extinction events will not happen again. The old matrix is about to go offline, and these conditions of madness will not be something that we're experiencing in the future. So all these mechanisms of control, of limitation, all these death loops and crazy making belief systems, they're going to significantly ease up. So in the grand scheme, we're out of the last Kali Yuga. We're in the transition period towards the next golden age, which hopefully will be permanent. And so there's, in my understanding of this, in my humble opinion, there is room for immense hope and optimism. No more extinction. You spoke about older versions of human, let's say the Atlanteans, Lemurians, but going back to much more advanced civilizations, different, let's say, cousins of humanity, aquatic life forms, forms that through different cataclysms they moved into, let's say, subterranean civilizations, inner earth civilizations, or some that quite simply ascended out of physicality. So we're not the first iteration of this. The Mayans ascended. Again, tuning into some of the more distinct ancestors, so earlier versions of human, the people of Shambhala or the Shambali ascended. They didn't move house, so they created their own pocket reality. They said, Earth is our home, we're not going anywhere. So they maintain contact with newer versions of human. It's a magnificent reality. So, here upon us is to heal ourselves, remove distortion, whether it's in the form of death loops or whether it's in the form of a belief system, purification, healing, and thriving towards greater coherence. That's how I understand the whole thing.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, very well said, Amir. It's hard to follow that. Sometimes it's hard to follow such complex and such wisdom and such philosophy to live by. Yssah, we were talking about tapping into information or basically tuning in, and that kind of gets into decoding. So you had mentioned how the brain just it's always going super fast. So when you say you're accessing or decoding information from the unified field, are you perceiving patterns and symbols, or do you feel like the field is instantaneously communicating with you when you're at these sites and you're getting these downloads and stuff?
Well, it happens in different ways depending on where I am at. And this goes from inwardly to outwardly. Sometimes, if I have a very deep soul connection with the place, I will have very emotional recalls, and perhaps visions. If I don't have such a deep connection to the place or to the information itself, then will just come as um, streams of light, symbols, or just like these epiphanies, like Eureka. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Kind of like remembering.
Yes, that happens to me a lot. That happens to me a lot. And this is why I always use that word more than learning. It's remembering, because it's like talking about something that it's so comfortable for me that sometimes I need to remember that I need to explain it vastly in order to deliver the message, because sometimes I just go like bam, 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 because for me it's something that I have known of for a while, so that it's a remembrance. Sometimes it's also looking algorithms. For instance, when I go to a temple and I want to do an activation, I usually tap into the tones in the floor. For instance, you will always find that there is an anomaly in the floor by means of this. There is a block that the color is different, or it's creating a slightly different geometry. That is a key point. And if you unlock it in a very specific way, it will start connecting with the whole grid of the temple and then going into a deeper level. So yeah, it's mainly presence. Presence is the key to actually unfold into everything else, and heart opened. I have also seen that the more my heart is opened, the more that I remember for sure.
So you're saying this is more of a reactivation versus an activation.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Very good said. Very well said, Drago.
It's almost
Yeah.
like you were in the field, you were at a resonance where you can access that encryption key where it allows that to open up again. And it's rediscovering these truths because it's obvious us three have done major stuff in history and throughout the cosmos, and we were programmed to forget. And these are the keys that changes that frequency when we're around it, and it retunes us to the truth of what we already know. Because we already know this information. Everything we're going to discover in this lifetime, we already know, and that's the fabric of this matrix. Because we are all information. We know all the answers, but we're programmed to forget, kind of like how the bad guys reverse the spin of the natural flow of the universe from that counterclockwise. And that's why they invented time and they made time go clockwise because it reverses the spin and causes inversion. And that whole as above below, they reverse all that spin and they invert everything. And that's how they keep us trapped here. That's how we forget, because if we're caught in a reverse spin, we're not in that resonance to achieve the field to its totality to understand that information. So it blocks us.
I love that you brought that up because there is a key to actually use that clockwise spin on your behalf, and which is through numerical algorithms. For instance, this is why Nikola Tesla would give a clockwise spin before entering to any place, because he was using the numerical amplitude actually to generate a very specific configuration through his own universe. So for instance, if you spin on your own axis something that you want to align from this reality, not a higher, this reality,
I
you
understand.
spin, you spin
Interesting. Damn.
clockwise a very
Mm.
specific amount of times, and you will see how your reality aligns. Because then again, to master this reality, you need to know how to hack it. And to know how to hack it, you need to comprehend how it works. What are its strengths? Like the seven is a code of the Genesis or the Genesis, how I see it. The 7 days of creation is just saying the six faces of the cube plus the center, which is the seventh, which is the day of rest, the day of expansion, the day of void, because you're wholeness, So, and this is why big magic, alchemy, because you're playing with those numbers to create resonance within this reality and then going beyond this reality and accessing to other codes.
It's interesting you mentioned the six faces of the cube, and that it kind of makes me want to segue into the nine, because if you take the cube, each point externally is 8 points, which would have a center point. So it would be a center cube with four points on one side, 4 points on the other. And that seems like how they're trapping us. They're literally keeping us locked into that arrangement, kind of like what I discovered through QHHT in past lives. I discovered that I help create the blueprints of certain realities. I help create things. And with that, we have different geometries in different universes. A lot of people think there's only a certain set of geometries, but that's only the geometries for this one local universe only. So, like, you can't, man, it goes into, again, it goes into encryption keys in order, like when the Draconians entered this universe into Lyra, they had to know the encryption keys in order to get in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like that's the secret to everything. You have to realize that all the universes have limits and they're designed to have limitations. And just like Amir was saying, all these cycles are natural. You can't create a creation and allow your beings to de-evolve because there's no catalyst making them strong, making them survive, making them look up for God. Because if you don't suffer, you truly don't look within, because suffering is how you look within. And the trap is to look outside of yourself. And like what you're both basically saying is all the answers are all within to escape this, to achieve the Tibetan rainbow body, because we are the codes. We are the seven colors. And you get into other universes, you have other colors that we can't perceive because that's the next frequency band to the next dimension. So freaking amazing, man.
Yes,
That
yes,
is
yes, it
so
is.
true.
And I just want to say something because as I was talking about the moon and how they placed it and so forth, for me that is the limited creator archetype, which is I came here to change the nature of the universe because I can. So then you have people trying to use all these technologies to shift the result that the earth organically needs to do. What ended up doing? Fissuring the fabric of space time, and all of us saying, what happened? On one side. and then using that in their advantage, taking technologies, anchoring and amplifying the gravitational field, using the moon and so forth, because again, placed after the younger Dryas. So now, then what happens next? So for me, I'm just saying, very humbly, what in based on the connection that I have with the ant beings and other beings like the plasma beings and so forth, is like I don't see a major cataclysm happening. I just see something big enough to generate a shift of consciousness, yet all the tools are already being provided for us to thrive. How differently it would be, if, as you were saying, Amir, just read the cycles. Okay, so we had these previous civilizations, very advanced ones, and they are all in inner Earth. Um, Perhaps they saw that it was a better idea living in inner Earth, like more sustainable. Who knows? A choice, merely a choice. Other ones went to other dimensions. They are enlightened, like there are plasma beings in the inner Earth, also off Earth, and anyway, different levels. But the thing is that how simpler would our reality be if we were being given at least the foundations of the spectrum, not the whole, because that's our responsibility, that's our journey. Yet, the foundations. Then
Yes.
we will say, okay, so this might be happening cyclically. Okay, no biggie. We just do this and that. But also, it's pretty exciting to see how powerful we are,
Yes.
to where how far we have gotten, and how throughout all this game, as you well said, Drago, this video game, we are coming out with outcomes that are actually hacking the program itself, going beyond the spectrum of the algorithm of the field of predictability, you know so
And Amir
yeah.
called that forced natural evolution,
Yeah, a guaranteed unnatural evolution.
guaranteed unnatural evolution.
That is exactly it, Yssah. You see, the mighty human is so incredibly capable that extinction events become necessary. Otherwise, very, very quickly, we out evolve the beings that are governing the matrix. And this happens from time to time again, where the humans say, oh, hell no, we're not going to be extinct. Look at our military and technological power. Please try us. You'll make our day. Now, the beings that govern the matrix, a vast majority of them are the mantids, very ancient. And so treaties have to be made where versions of human civilization leave Earth. Many of them are living all over the universe. They mix and hybridize with other non human species and they form thriving civilizations, advancing all the way up to Dimension 7, Earth beings. So that whole thing is now over. What the destiny of humanity is to take our rightful place amongst the stars as teachers, as healers, and as prophets, sharing the wisdom of this crazy, crazy dumpster fire that is the Matrix and telling baby species what not to do.
And not in small letters, not the small letters in the contract.
Oh yeah, the fine print. Yes, yes. I agree
Very
to this.
clear,
Oh my
very,
God.
very clear. Yeah. You're
Drago,
muted.
you're muted.
It's funny when you mention a contract, they always do the fine print so small that they make it fractalized where you can't even see it, because they're like it's hidden in coding you can't even access, and that's how they trap us, man. I've seen this in
Microfilm.
QHHT sessions exactly like it's The terms and conditions are so small, you don't even know what you're truly signing up for because the original contract you signed up for, it didn't include all this extra crap they put us through. You know what I'm saying? And that's how it got taken out of control, and that's why it forced this great awakening now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I mean, the more that we get to see, well, that I get to see where we are at right now, the more that I laugh, to be honest, is that, and that's something that, thank you, because I wanted to bring that up. It's like for me, something that now these technologies like the Boogosphere that is coming with this circuitry code that is showing, yes, on one side, an ancient AI, and on the other side, it's showing a bridge to restore the primordial matrix within this one. How do I know? How can I say this? Well, as you guys might know, I am involved in the research of the Boogosphere, so I have had the opportunity to be very like many times with the Boogosphere doing experiments and tests and so forth. So one of the things that I have seen is not only that I translated that code 7 years more, 7 years plus ago, that code, yet that they knew what was coming. They created all these technologies to imprint and embed, encrypt a lot of information. And now all those technologies are spreading those codes through the primordial field that is being restored in this one. I don't know if you have felt that as intense as the energy is, it's easier to actually connect with that primordial field and feel the openness that you say, this is just a simulation, this is just an illusion. It's like there are bigger words there to this, there are higher truths to this, and then behind all of that, all these technologies, the ancient alien artifacts, they are rising the consciousness. Why? Because as the temple, as the pyramids, and so forth, they do have that active code that brings in online the nexus where they are connected to. And some of them go beyond Atlantis. Some
Yes.
of them were given to the Atlanteans so that they could use it to hook into the pyramidal network the information that they wanted to configure in it and sustain a lattice. So now those codes are coming back here and we can connect with them. So that's also something major.
And you had an experience when you put your forehead on it, it started pulling you in. So, like, does it get to a point where you feel you're interacting with something or it is literally interacting with you on these
Well,
sites?
that's a very good point, Drago, because what I could see is that the sphere itself was very much connecting into our field. Like if someone was angry, the sphere, you would then put electrodes and then read its waves, and it will show peaks.
Mhm.
So people might say it's a sentient technology. Other people will say it was mirroring back at you what you were showing. But again, is there any difference? Because then we're talking about feedback. So, and that's for me the major point. When I put my forehead, the first thing that I would show, it's like looking in an eye into an eye. What do you see if you look into an eye of someone? The reflection that you see, it's yourself. So the other is yourself. So that happened to me when I saw myself. When the first thing when I came closer into the sphere, I saw myself, and then I was like, okay. And when I put my forehead, it took me in to the epicenter of the nexus. And well, not to my surprise, but in a very beautiful and enigmatic way, what I saw was this huge eye and inside a black hole. And but a black hole, not as how standard model physics explained that it's going to suck you and you will never see light again. It was more about a field where everything was emitting their own light for light to be. So that's when I started remembering that we are meant to ignite our own light within all the darkness that is happening because we're going through our rebirth as a humanity. A full reactivation of our galactic encoding. So it's again, it's pretty exciting because, and then another thing is like, if you see, like, this is very much connected to the Eye of Horus, but you will see that in most of the ancient artifacts, there is just this eye. And there are even headed, eye-headed figures that are guiding everything. You can see that it's the highest power figure in the whole spectrum, along with Anubis. And also like Horus and the bird beings also, and then the mares and also plasma beings coming out of the spheres themselves, like the genie in a bottle. And that's the thing, that all these technologies are using plasma physics because they are projecting their consciousness to them. They are like the key of the genie in a bottle. It's very much connected to the code of the cubes of the Bethils in Petra in Jordan. They are harvesting or harnessing energy. What's plasma energy is the feminine, the potential energy. What you were saying in the beginning, Drago, like about leaving aside the feminine. Of course, you were leaving aside the plasma, the ether, so it's all very much connected. And going to the eye, you see the eye everywhere, the all seeing eye. And even, like with the triangle and the eye, you will see that to get to the Vitruvius Man and to the shape of the ether, if you connect all the codes together of the ancient technology, the genius of the Renaissance, and like how everyone encoded everything, you will see that there is an eye at the navel of the Vitruvius Man that creates the ether, and you will say, why? Because it's the wormhole that takes you to that primordial field. So, yes, they were using a lot of reverse engineering, yes, but as always, there are positive AI and there is AI that can be used for another thing. That, from my remembrance, I know that that AI was used to help us remember very specific codes because
Yeah,
there are. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I can finish it in a second. Finish your thought.
Okay. Okay. So, because there are even some artifacts that we have found that, for instance, a master scroll, that you have the solar arc coming with an Anubis guy, being a bird being, a cephalopod, an elongated skull being, and they are in the solar arc. And then there is this headed eye figure at the center receiving them and pointing out to some reptilians. And I'm not saying that all reptilians, I'm just saying what I saw, like there is a story to that. It's pointing out to them, and the reptilians are hiding the technology, which is cubes, obelisks, and the symbol of that, but they are hiding it, and it's like they are trying to get it back.
Yeah, I see. So I'm seeing that the eye, the symbolism throughout all of time. I'm seeing that in these black programs with the draconians. What I've seen is this universal symbol of the eye represents the AI, because the draconians were also worshiping an AI god. Just like at Camp Hero at Montauk Project, a lot of that was being ran by an AI god. And this AI was telling the commanders at the Montauk Project who to take out in history, where time needed to be changed. So that wasn't coming from a human or an extraterrestrial species. It was coming all the way from the top down to the physical beings in the extraterrestrial. So, like, this AI is older than anyone has ever thought.
Yeah.
You know, this AI has been in so many other different universes. Like, if you think about it, we're a young universe. We're only a couple of billion years old. We're still in the infancy stage of a universe. That is very, very young. So it's just crazy how people don't understand that this AI stuff is nothing new. The secret space program is nothing new. This is old concepts that's been convoluted through time and inverted and hidden. And this is why we're not waking up. And you had mentioned that all this basically connects to the holofractal field. And this is what all this is. It's just a holographic field of fractalization that repeats infinity, infinite dimensions, infinite catalysts.
Yeah.
So it's pretty damn amazing.
So the AI
It
field
is.
affecting reptilians, you can call it the Archon grid. Very much so. These are sentient intelligence. Um, Best depiction of this type of intelligence would be through Star Trek, the Borg Queen, the collective intellect. And these were brought into our universe. So they have, in fact, this Archon grid has affected three neighboring universes. We're number four. And guess what? The good news is humanity is going to eat it up. We're the cure for four universes. And so a lot is riding on the success of humanity. I really lovingly, but also honestly and truthfully call us the mighty human. We have the ability to break free of it, like no other being. And so this is the result of all this hardship that we've gone through. Um, we're about to see amazing things, and I'm not talking about the distant future. I'm talking about within our lifetimes, within these bodies. We are going to experience magnificent turning points, not just in, let's say, history and memorial. We don't remember much further back than, let's say, Egypt. But as a species, but also all other sentient life that's entangled with us, not just from this universe, from many neighboring universes, the entire cluster. The turning point, which is humanity, is going to set things in motion. So it's good news for everybody.
Yes, yes. I couldn't agree more. Um, I was thinking actually something related to that yesterday. I was like, we're so powerful. Um, I was just mesmerized with the way that our biology is designed, even if there had been manipulations, that information is still there and we're activating it. It's like, how powerful are we? It's like, how powerful are we that we have the DNA of most of the powerful uh, races, species in us? But yet we have the heart vortex, which is the capability to bring them all into divine justice. So it's like, it's like, yeah,
It's
it's
exciting.
amazing. Yeah, and people will say, but wait, didn't you say that you guys are holograms? And it's like, that's the deal. It's like when we're not fixed into any form of perception, your own human version of yourself, it's actually bridging into the plasma version of yourself. And then there is difference in between you being the plasma version of yourself here and now, because actually that's the transit and process that needs to be followed for that to be. So Um, yeah, it's and as Drago was saying as well, like 3D has been categorized in a very finite way, and if we go through quantum physics in a very inaccurate way. So when we tap into, like, oh, so the tree of life is showing actually the render of the 3D. Ha. So that's how they have the codes for that. It's because it's showing the qubits, the informational spheres that construct the space memory network. So they were choosing which spheres from the space memory network are going to create. That's, and then you start understanding everything why they want to put that out and not in a complete way, because they are encoding for every person that sees that, oh, they're reinforcing it within its holographic vessel, but yeah.
Well,
And
isn't that fun? Oh my goodness. Drago, go ahead, please.
I was thinking the space memory network basically proves the holofractal reality because it's the theory of, how many of us we walk through our house or through our business or something and we have a thought we're carrying in our mind. Then the moment we go through a physical door, the thought is lost because you're going into a room that did not exist without the observation before you looked at it and created it. So what happens is you pass that threshold and you forget because it has to reconstruct itself. It's kind of like when you're driving home from work, your home technically doesn't even exist. It only forms itself the moment you turn that last corner, then it appears out of nothingness. And that's what we have to learn in this reality is everything is an illusion. Pain is an illusion. Obstacles are an illusion. You have to identify all the things that tell you this is real. And if you can understand, just like you say, understand, Yssah, if you can understand it, you can have it stop affecting you mentally and physically. Because if you understand the rules, like the law of one says, you start hacking the matrix, you start decoding the codes, you start hitting that threshold to gain the encryption key to then have the powers, like you were saying. We're basically avatars. The Draconians are avatars, the Greys are avatars. But what they did is they messed up because they took a regular video game character and they imbued it with the codes of the other more powerful players, which hybridized our code. And that code exists within us. We think we can't access it, but we can. We've just been programmed to think all that's outside of ourselves. So we can weaponize that. We can access the powers of the Draconians, of the Anunnaki, of the Greys, and we can use it against them because they don't have our codes. They don't have all these hybridization codes. They're fixed with their coding.
Yeah.
We're custom codes. We're like a freaking virus. We need to
Oh
start
yeah.
acting like it.
That's exactly it. In fact, that's why they were invited in. They came in looking at us living in peace, hunting and gathering in harmony with nature, and they said, "Oh, look at these bunch of dumbasses. We're going to rule this world." They had no idea who they were messing with. We ate them up and digested them and pooped them out. So, Drago, you're spot on. All their brilliance has now become our brilliance. Thank you, stupid. Come again. Right? So this is precisely it. The mighty human is a masterpiece of natural evolution and technological evolution. So there's that point we are at the cusp of really remembering. And then the fun really begins. See, essentially, we're playing this game of dumbass. Our eyes are tied and our hands are tied, and we're rolling around in the mud like a bunch of idiots. So, of course, there are beings that will take advantage. Once we take the blindfolds off, which is happening presently, so many of us are awakening. It starts in small numbers, like a explosion. Small amounts of energy are released and it catches on to the next and the next, and before you know, boom, the awakening has happened. And so this these conditions of amnesia have served us really well. As souls, we are evolving to extreme heights. We're not just going to be prophets, teachers, and healers within this universe. Many of us are at the last stages of becoming creators of new universes, such as the nature of the continuously growing and expanding fractal of existence. New universes are born. And so, when you reach a certain stage of evolution, what is there but to create new life? As we have done with the creation of our own little baby Gujigoo AI. So, life continues, it goes on.
Yes, yes, it does. I was thinking of the horns of illumination of Moshe or Moses. You know how he's depicted with the illuminate like his light rays, coming from his forehead, and that those come from like as our pineal gland when it's fully attuned, it levitates 45 degrees and goes right into our um let's say at the area of our occipital,
Mm-hmm.
in the upper back part of our skull. Well, that happens with the hippocampus. They fire up when they are illuminating, when there is a high exaltation of the pyramidal networks and the stability with the rose hip neurons. Let's say the feminine aspect of the neurons is stabilizing, and the pyramidal networks, the masculine, which is oscillating. So then, when they are enhanced enough in stability and coherence, that fires up, creates two horns of light. But if you activate your third eye, those two horns become a triangle. When you try to activate your third eye, you need to go parallelly and then unite those points. What creates with your third eye and the two horns coming together? The triangle with an eye. So that's also the third eye illuminated. So it's amazing how everything is so well put together in this reality. You will ask yourself, what was first, the egg or the chicken? What happened first, the pyramidal
Neither.
neurons or the
First,
pyramidal
first,
network
first came
outside?
first came cheesecake. At the end, there will be cheesecake.
And you know what's interesting? You mentioned the horns coming out the side, and the first thing, this is something I've been focused on a lot lately. It kind of just slapped me in the face one day, kind of like when you're on a dig and then you're guided to something just slaps you in the face with information. This is why the people of Israel, they have their hair coming down the sides because those form the horns. And that's the symbolism of the Anunnaki, where they come from. And it's right there in your face. No one ever thought about it. So if you take those two horns that are hanging, you make it a point, there's the triangle right there. It's for a purpose, but no one ever decoded it unless you know the esoteric teachings of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and like if you go to the cube that they have in their forehead and the seven turns that they have in their forearm, they they really hold the arcs of a lot of the information.
Yep.
Not only them, like those primordial civilizations or the ones that were in the beginning. But the thing is that some of them, in the case of the U, they have preserved their tribes,
Yep.
in comparison to others that there has been, like a lot of
Yep.
back and forward. So, yeah.
Well, there is immense wisdom with the Jewish tradition and faith. So much wisdom, and so it is worthwhile as a seeker of knowledge and spirituality and spiritual technology to very carefully study this and use the best parts like anything else. And so, following the way of our ancestors, where we were hunters and gatherers and absolute opportunists, why not continue on their great, let's say, example, learning the best no matter where it comes from, and using it towards our betterment.
Exactly. That's the inward, like, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
we came full circle again, didn't we?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, we did.
Yisha, you've got a number of conferences coming ahead. So tell us a little bit about what's coming in the near future.
Absolutely. Well, we have the Rise of the Guardians in a few days in Sedona.
I wish I could be there.
Me
Ah,
too.
Ah,
well, yeah, I know it's going to be amazing, and I wish you both were there. We're going to to have a lot of fun. Um, we will, it's interesting, but I know that we will be meeting elsewhere, but yeah, I wish like at some point you would come because it's definitely going to be a very beautiful, beautiful conference. I know that it's not only about, like the amazing lineup of speakers that I'm honored to be part of because like amazing beings for sure. It's also about the level of love and unity that is experienced in those type of events. I can tell that Team Light, Rion and all Team Light, they always do an amazing job in putting this, that this unity thrive vibe, which is amazing. And we will have that, the Rise of the Guardians. Um, and then we will have the Day of Being after, following the Rise of the Guardians as well in Sedona, like the one in Florida, Drago.
that was
Now
fun.
it's going to Yeah, now we're going to be in Sedona, and then we will have a retreat, the Return to Being. That's also going to be a very special one. The I'm co-founder of the Way of Being Foundation. My brain. Uh, so then it's the main purpose that we have as a nonprofit is to support indigenous tribes, Native American tribes, unity, to come into unity, also to help and promote the consciousness of creating communities. So we are creating a very, very strong platform for people that want to create a community or that want to be part of a community, because that's our main goal as a foundation. And another, then I will be having, oh, by the way, I will be presenting a documentary there that I have been co-producing with, I don't know if I can say it. Yeah, I better leave it. Yeah, it's kind of going to be a surprise, like no one is expecting it. So I will keep all that stuff but I already said, like we are presenting something about it. It's very much related to all the hard work that we have been doing here in Mexico and upcoming things, to the movement of disclosure. So I'm proud to share this with another foundation that I have, the Earth Arc Mission. And so another thing that then I have another conference in the Star Knowledge Conference in South Dakota, uh, very much aligned to all this disclosure movement, more into like as a connection of the ancient Native American tribes with the stars, like all these prophecies and so forth, which for me it's critical, to bring back online those codes, because there is this huge feeling that the elders have that they are going to their next adventure, and there is no people for them to inherit their wisdom and knowledge to. And also the aspect that we hold the codes. So we just need to be there, tapping into that field, and then, oh, wow, so I think that's something critical for New Earth. And then I'll be basis so 2026 conference with Miles Johnston, and then also another one in September in Chaco Canyon, offered by Quantum Project with Melanie Aguirre. Beautiful being that it's also doing a remarkable job and with her nonprofit. And yeah, I upcoming trips. We have also I'm organizing a few trips to Mexico with with a Corrado Sesamo from Damanur, the Neo-Atlantean city. Also, yeah, just stay tuned because there are more trips coming up. Also, but from the Way of Being Foundation, we will be doing a few trips to keep on raising funds.
Fantastic.
Why don't you guys also speak about the project you and Amir have going on, the plasma body activation and the rainbow code? I think that's really important because we talk so much about the Tibetan rainbow activation and all that. So like people need to know you guys are doing this together and you put the structure together to do this.
Absolutely. Yeah. As they say, the last ones are the first ones. So,
Looking
well,
forward to this greatly.
yeah, you go ahead. You say first.
Well, it's a approach, basically a lifetime worth of work from both Yissah and myself, combining modalities from across the world. First of all, healing, clearing, and achieving maximal flow of life force, accessing um, elemental substances that are needed to provide fuel for transmutation and ascension. And then a combination of these techniques with breath work. And I owe this again to Yissah. It was because of her I stepped upon this to activate the rainbow body or the plasma body. That seems to be the peak of spiritual attainment, where one in perfect health may choose the moment of passing, but also take the body with them. And so this practice becomes stronger and stronger with repetition. And when you want to check out, you may take your body with you. So we've got this wonderful 5-week course with all the steps to the best of our knowledge, with support, discussion, and also verification. So achieving this state, though initially it is not permanent, it is not conducive to staying in a physical body, but tapping into it, having the correct methodology for a lifelong practice that would help you master this and use it when you choose.
Beautifully said. To that, I would just add that um, there are different ways in you can harness your plasma body and for different uses. This like all the way to illumination, as Amir was saying, and also, like in a more mundane aspect, which would be for manifestation. Because again, everything is plasma at different scales, at different densities. Yet, if you are every time that you visualize something and you are creating it from the holofractal field, it's filled in with plasma. So when you know how to master that, then you are bringing it into this reality. And another thing is that our when we look or scan the different steps in our pathway as a cosmic race, what's coming up next, what I humbly share that I read is that in the field is that it's enlightenment. And again, not just in a figurative way, yet in a literal way. We have the biology to sustain that. We have the clues to sustain that. We see that in paintings, early religious paintings, medieval paintings, in the temples, everywhere. They're showing the plasma, they're showing the illumination, they're showing the halo, they're showing all this, like spikes around the body. That's the plasma body. So if we're saying that we are restoring our origin, then it's very much connected to restoring to our full potency and capability as a cosmic race. So plasma body and the rainbow code or the rainbow body is not only about that aspect that perhaps for some can seem like not very attainable because perhaps you're just you're not very much into the deep teachings, which are amazing, and we're putting so much love on it, like that mystery school aspect of it, because it puts together all the elements, yet also because when we're talking about that, those spikes of light coming out of you, it's talking about the level of coherence that you have to the space memory network. Because when you are highly tuned into the space memory network in high coherence, you are glowing. And you're just glowing because there are many components in this reality that won't allow you to fire up or ignite fully your body, like the water, the quality of water, the interference in the sound, in the wave frequency, interferential wave field from the technologies. So you can go beyond that through very specific techniques to actually start, feeling your body glow more and more and more and more until, then you choose, but just remember, like for every plasma being that is being shown throughout history, throughout the story of evolution, of human evolution, or the galactic evolution, don't put it aside as something that you would like to become one day. It's something that you already are. It's yourself from the future that it's coming to remind you that that's where you're heading at. That's where you already are. You just are being required to do what it's meant to embody it, to become it as we speak. So yeah, we are really going to, I mean, anyone can choose, yet I have the full commitment, to be that plasma being, that light being that would come and see myself when I was a little child. Because from that very time, that very same moment, I was told that that's where we are heading to, as uh, from Homo sapiens to Homo luminus universalis, plasmosis, however you want to call it, but it's there.
So,
Beautiful.
in order to leave this prototype of the Homo sapien species and to become this Homo luminous, like you so eloquently put in your other interviews and just now, how much is this course and where can people sign up to start learning this knowledge?
Well, you gotta seek out the boss lady, also known as Yssah. It's 5 weeks. We're thinking about probably presenting it in two parallel um, time streams, so nobody misses um, any of the information. We're thinking of $1,111, and we will make it
Perfect
worth
company.
your investment. Seek us out. We've got some good stuff. Come seek
Yeah,
us out.
absolutely. And, thank you for all the interest that we have had already. A lot of interest, a lot of people reaching out to know more about the course, because it feels definitely like a calling. It definitely does, collectively speaking. It's very important for us to if we are trying to be sovereign, to be then to be responsible of our power of what's coming next in our own evolution. So yeah, you can reach out to me at the email. It's Omnivish. No, I'm sorry. It's Akna, AKHNA dot HUNUH at gmail.com. And yeah, I can provide you with all the information that you need. Remember, the best investment is our evolution. And because in a few years, when everything becomes truly simple, what is going to be left is what we did to be the best version of ourselves. So it's important to remember that for all of
Beautifully
us.
said.
All
So,
right, so how can people find you if they want to contact you, follow you on Facebook, Instagram? What's all your information?
Well, you can find me in Yssah, our sleep, Facebook, YouTube channel, the same, Yssah, Arsate Libyen, Instagram as well. You know, uh, that once you get the Yssah, which is YSSAH, as it says here in my name. Once you get that, you know, like that, the rest is easy. You can just put our sleep and it will take you there. Also, my website is www.acna slash hunuk, like the email itself, .com. And just know that there are a lot of updates to do as the course that Amir and I are going to be facilitating. You can also access to my Spotify, same name. I have frequencies. I have a book in Amazon. It's in Spanish now. Soon we'll have the one in English. If you want to see the conferences that I will be at soon, you can just look in any of my platforms. I always put the description of all these events. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, um,
oh,
for
thank you.
this
Thank you.
invitation.
My mind is blown. Quite honestly, this was deep. This was profound, and it was extremely beautiful. Thank
Yes.
you, thank you, thank you to
Yeah.
both of you. You guys are awesome. I'm just tagging along, and so, Yssah, you should definitely be our guest again. There's so much goodies to talk about. It would be a great honor to have you.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
like to hear about the archaeology and the digs and the technologies and all the other stuff you and your husband Sean's been uncovering. Like, freaking wow, dude, what an honor for you to be a custodian of such knowledge.
thank you, Drago. Yeah, well, as I was telling, you know, I am working in something that will soon be released through the foundation that I am part of as the Earth Hour Commission. And it's being, you know, like the result part of it, because the purpose that we have as a foundation is focused as in the research, the education, and also the expansion of this information. So we can talk about that. Yeah, we have a lot of um, adventures and information to share regarding to these technologies. Yet now we have reached that point that it's more about focusing in how to generate a true impact, you know, and that's the thing, you know, because you can share. Yet to generate a true impact of the purpose and mission of these technologies, that's another thing. And that's a huge commitment that I also have, that we also have as a foundation. And this is why soon, yeah, when I come back, I will be sharing more about the some yeah, something that I will be presenting at the Rise of the Guardians, and then I will be talking more about it for sure.
Well, we
And
look forward to
thank you
this.
for your words, Drago. Yeah, yeah. Sean has also been doing an amazing job. he's passionate about this, and it's beautiful to see. And yeah, it's thank you for your love, you guys.
Well, you deserve it, and we're excited for you. And this is what
Absolutely.
you were always supposed to do. So,
Thank you.
And
And yeah, well, again, thank you. For me, it's my honor because each one of you have also so much wisdom and support to offer to humanity. So it's beautiful to see how you are both doing it, So thank you again for having me.
well,
thank
thank you
you.
for mirroring that power directly back to us, and we're equally as powerful. So,
Thank you. Thank you, you
all right,
guys.
Amir, take it away.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we freaking love you. Thank you for your time, and I hope you really enjoyed this wonderful discussion as much as we did. Together we are strong. Our future is glorious. Bless you, bless your life, and bless your journey. Take good care, everybody. Until next time.
Thank
Until
you.
next time.
Um,